Yes. Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods. Welcome Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. What's the other one? Instagram, boom. All those other fun things. Facebook, if I didn't see it. This is brought to you by Yogi, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education. If you're on Instagram, just imagine there's a cool logo right here that says Urban Yogic Wellness and Education. They are restructuring how we're seeing health and wellness in the Black community and bringing the power of growth and evolution into our own hands, healing and evolution into our own hands. My name is Jarek, the Floating Yogi, and tonight is Floating Yoga Fundamentals Book Club. Yes, most certainly it is. And we are reading The Only Way Out Is In. I am just a splash lower energy than normal. I'm still my same jubilant self, full of joy and love and black joy and consistency, which just elevates whatever level you're in. Thanks to Orville the poet. Gonna drop that. Some other housekeeping rules we have. This is powered by No Commercials by UE, No Commercials International. There's going to be an album that's coming out. Ooh, there was some great times vibing with the Touch of Soul. Greg and Harper's Ferry just got back this morning. Of course, I needed some snacks and a nap and like a J to, recalibrate, get myself back on track. So here it is, picking up the energy, picking up the vibes. But the event was phenomenal. It was great. I'm excited for the footage to come back and to see the magic. Oh my gosh. See the magic after the fact. Outside of that, Monday night, there is a schedule. What? A schedule? Absolutely. Monday night is the book club, Floating Yoga Fundamentals, where we're reading The Only Way Out Is In. Boom. And Tuesday night is where we flow. We take some of this philosophy, some of this understanding that we're learning, and we embody it in the physical form, in the practice. Whoosh, the Ashtanga, 8 limbs of yoga. And we have the Ashtanga led half primary tomorrow at 6. So tonight at 6, tomorrow at 6, we flow. Thursday, midday meditations. We get our mind right. Take a moment from the day just to break, to recalibrate our life, let go of whatever we need to let go, organize what we need to organize so we can move forward with direction and purpose. And then there is Saturday. We're back on track this upcoming Saturday with Floating Flow, where the shenanigans would get popping. We're going to challenge ourselves in different ways. It's going to be a blast. And Sunday, we are in-house. What? In UE Center. Yes. The house of growth, where we will be, elevating and sifting and flowing. It's here for you. This week is brought to you by Surreal Audio, by Surreal Audio Solutions, and No Commercials. So it'd be great to vibe with you this weekend. What else is there? Outside of that, last week we finished up the 8 limbs of yoga. We finished discussing the yamas, the niyamas, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. And now we are on page 163 of the Pyramid Code. So if you're following along, we're on page 163 of The Only Way Out Is In. And it'd be great to join you, for you to join us. We're talking about the Pyramid Code. I think this is the one that gets all nice and saucy and talks about like the different states of matter. What? The different states of matter? Yes. And not just physically. I digress. I could be wrong though. Maybe I am. We'll see. Okay, Revelation of the Pyramid Code. A catchy title. Yeah. It's this yogic version of the Da Vinci Code. I knew it would be the peak of your curiosity. Now that I got your full attention, here I go. It all began with a vision to become a reality. A friend of mine, Rupali, was arranging a month-long intensive workshop about Ashtanga and Ayurveda for teachers and students. She was setting up the entire program for me to come in and teach on the island of Oahu, Hawaii. The class had about 25 participants with a waiting list of people to get in. I was traveling at the time, so she emailed me a few months before we were going to start, asking for the manual we were going to use for the students. I haven't even started putting it together, and I promised to get it to her as soon as possible. But as the time drew closer, I still didn't have it done. She kept me, she kept after me every few weeks, asking if I've done it yet. And even though I assured her this would get done and I was working on it, I kept putting it off. Procrastination is like masturbation. It feels good when you're doing it, but at the end, you're just beating yourself. The truth was that at the time I was not ready to put it down in words yet. I intuitively knew it was in me somewhere, but it wasn't coming out. For a few weeks before the intensive was to begin, I was back in Kauai, and she called me on the phone and asked me once again about the manual. I said, sorry, I don't have it completed yet. Since I hadn't come up with anything on paper, she decided to come to my place to help me put it together. She flew in for the weekend from Oahu and to the neighbor island of Kauai. I don't know, that sounds like Kawaki from Baruto. Complete distraction, which is my home for 4 months of the year. I felt relieved because I didn't know how I was going to do this on my own. The material we came up with together didn't feel like it captured the essence of what I really wanted to say. So I asked her to give me one more day and we could print it. She got back on the plane and was faced with the pressure. And she got back on the plane, and I was faced with the pressure of coming up with something fast. I was caught up in my head about how to present this information in a manual to be used as a template for teaching. I wanted to be clear on how I came across, but my mind could not wrap around the mystery of the practice in words. Was it even possible to put in the words the essence of Ashtanga Yoga and Ayurveda and 30 years of empirical study? I continued to struggle to create something I felt good about that would convey my foundational principles in a concise and authentic way, but nothing came. I sat for hours writing and crumbling pieces of paper up and throwing them in the garbage. I was now feeling desperate, and out of frustration, I began to cry. I thought I would telephone her and letting her know I can't do this, cancel the workshop, and ask her to give everyone their money back, but I didn't. I went to bed and that evening, feeling distraught, vulnerable, and confused about what to do. I eventually drifted off to sleep, but just before I did, I felt a quiet prayer of help enter my heart and a state of complete surrender take over me. In the middle of the night, I suddenly awoke full of energy and ideas for the manuals. I began to write, and literally I could not keep up with my hands as the pen moved across the pages at lightning speed. I saw images of pyramids with clearly marked principles relating to Ashtanga Yoga. That night, my understanding of what I had been studying and teaching for many years became crystal clear. The essence of all I've experienced became systematically defined as principles of a living system and a core central to all truths that was relevant to me. These principles were channeled from the casual level of consciousness to the space of cosmic intelligence. This is the collective consciousness. Unconscious was somewhere beyond my limited mind and intellect, but is available to all who dare to dive deep into the expanse of oneself. It was information that I now see was congruent with many other ancient texts. It was in my words and images, but as you can see and read on, there's a thread of vein of truth ringing through all that I present. Again, not me personally, but transmissions from beyond. For several years now, I have presented this material to students all over the world, and what follows is what came to life. All right, so now we're getting to the pyramid code on page 166, and the only way out is in. Let's see, how's he going to dive into this? Is he going to talk about mind, body, spirit? Is he going to drop into sacred geometry? Are we going to talk astrotheology, astrophysics? We'll learn after this sip. If you're checking in on me on any of the social medias, if you're vibing with me, if you feel like you can learn something, if you're growing, drop it in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're at. What's really resonating with you. All right, page 166, the pyramid code. It started with a vision of a tetrahedron, which is 4 triangles of equal measure put together, making 3-sided pyramid. 8 tetrahedrons is then merged together to form a double pyramid, which is a 4-sided pyramid on top, is one 4-sided pyramid on top of the other. one is going up in the sky, the other is going down into the earth. These like upward triangle, downward triangle. These represent like masculine, feminine energies, and like the Star of David that you see with the Jewish cross is supposed to be like the balance of these masculine and feminine energies, but in multiple dimensions. It's not just two-dimensional star; it's three-dimensional. It's all the way around, but it's all in how you're perceiving this thing. Let's see. Let's go further. The core is a multifaceted crystalline center taking the shape of some sort of polyhedron. Many tetrahedrons form together, creating what it would look like to be a ball with many spikes. It looks like a polyhedron when the bright sun glowing inside of the center radiating out in all directions. The Earth also has a crystalline magnetic core. This fuels the dynamic movement of this spinning vortex from this whole mass was spiraling through space. I know now why I envision it this way, because if you meditate on the picture, which is called Sri Lanka in 3D, it symbolizes the web of a matrix of the universe. The Sri Lanka in 3D is an image of a pyramid also. There are many other Sri Lankas printed on canvases, the Tantric Tibetan tradition, that are quite beautiful. Check them out. But check out the Sri Yantra 3D one. They also have like a cool 3D model of like these 3D shapes that are so cool and complex. You can see like a billion different triangles that make it up, and you can see all the squares. It's some interesting things. I'll continue. It demonstrated to me that everything that I'm experiencing in yoga, Ayurveda, and Tantra are alive principles and not merely dead words or belief systems. It also captured in the 3D image the web-like matrix form of the universe, in which nothing is separate or distinct in its own. I also got that energy exists in an infinite field of pure potential as one gigantic quantum energy soup. In the chaos theory of physics, a scientist came up with the term called butterfly effect. That movie was pretty interesting. Which is when butterflies flapping its wings in Tokyo could cause tornadoes in California. All that happens in the universe is not random at all. There's a cosmic law in place. And here is amazing quote by Albert Einstein, a modern day mystic. I will give him that. He is most certainly a modern day mystic. Albert Einstein, no genius, just tapped in. That's it. Oh, and a whole bunch of more information has been privy to him. I'll definitely put that out there. It's not like, oh, all this information is just here. If you live a life that doesn't put you around this information, no, it doesn't. You only know what you know. Keep learning, my friends. A human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. We experience ourselves, our thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from the prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole world in nature and beauty. The true value of a human being is determined by the measure and the sense in which they have obtained liberation from the self. We shall require a substantially new manner of thinking if humanity is to survive. And this is in 1954, and it still rings true today in 2021. Yeah, Michael Jackson said it about like 40 years ago. So come on now, like if you want to make the world a better place, take a look in the mirror and make the change. But for real, that's literally what it's saying. And they're also talking about like that separation of self, which I like to see is that understanding of our individuality and our similarities, and then treating everyone, the way you want to be felt, which creates that connection, which creates that, oh, I'm doing this because this is how I feel. So, there does drop some ego in that. And now's not the time to touch on that, because this is a broad topic. I want to try to keep it limited. Okay. Everything in life is interconnected one way or another. After all, what is above and what is below, it is all related to where you are. Is someone standing on the South Pole upside down? There's positive and negative poles. For instance, if you flush a toilet in Australia, the southern hemisphere, the water goes clockwise down the drain, and in America, the northern hemisphere, it goes counterclockwise. I did it here in Hawaii, and it's true. I watched it swirl counterclockwise, but in reality, there is no up or down, right or wrong, black or white. We as humanity are making this stuff up in our heads. It's all mind games, trying to make sense of this universe, this one whole that is whole and complete in itself. Ooh, dualistic thinking is mind and matter, the logical linear way of science. I'm speaking and writing metaphysics. I recognize that what I am saying here cannot be proven scientifically, but I am all right with this. The question is, are you? Can you be at rest with the mystery of life without having to label everything within it? To give up your imaginary world about how it all works. I'm asking you to step outside yourself for a moment in an aesthetic state and experience a world of wonder and awe. The 4 pyramids above the surface are the ones that I'll write about. The first pyramid contains the principle from the inside out. The next, from the ground up. The third principle goes from gross to subtle. And the fourth, everything moves in a vortex. So I'm going to say those again. Four pyramid principles. First is from the inside out. The next is from the ground up. The third is from gross to subtle. And the fourth is everything moves in a vortex. So like a circular type motion. And I gotta support those thoughts. Because when I'm teaching classes, the first thing our expression comes from the inside out. We think it and then we act it. We use our bodies to express that thought. So that would be one. And then stability comes from the ground up. What's happening at your feet, your ankles, the 4 corners of the feet, the ankles, your knees. And then it builds up that way. The other one is from gross to subtle. A lot of times we're just sloppy. We're unrefined. And the practice helps us to refine ourselves. So as we're going through the gross articulation of our body, using our large muscles, we can find that gross to subtle, the more articulate muscle control. We can start to do like the pop and lock simple things. It's like, oh yeah, it's not like I gotta move like this to lift up my shoulder. Nah, just lift that joint up. Doop, doop, doop. Doop, doop. You know, however you want to do it. Okay. This all appeared to me in a lucid dream form in sacred geometry, images, and symbols as I wrote page after page of what I'm about to share with you. I was quite trippy experience, this shaping within, and believe me, I'm not good at math, geometry, or physics. The 4 pyramids below represent latent energies that are hidden from the everyday reality of the 5 senses, but are just as important as the pyramids above. The mysterious energy that animates all of life and perceivable with our inner senses only. For instance, that seed that holds the tree within. There are worlds upon worlds that are beyond all sense of reason and logic. Looking up in space and wondering what's up there with another inexplicable happening. I want to remind you that Ayurveda has said that we are the microcosms existing within the macrocosm. Some of us might call this mysterious energy God. I choose to call it existence. We are part of the cosmic dance or God's cosmic play called Leela in Sanskrit. Personal experiences with pyramid energy. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to go over the pyramid principles, I think. Oh, no. Yeah, those are some exercises. You can go over the exercises if you're rocking with the exercises. Otherwise, we're going to jump on to the Wizard Yogi, which is page 171 of The Only Way Out Is In. Okay, the wizard yogi. The first tetrahedron is a double pyramid of the double pyramid is called inside out. This is the most essential of all the pyramids for Ashtanga yoga. The vision that first came to me was only this, a triangle tetrahedron. It then took shape with 7 others to form a completed double pyramid form. Along with this vision, what came to me in words were guiding principles of inside out. These are the magnetic forces that bring you back to your core when you drift off into the past or future. It is your anchor to presence and connection with your physical and energetic bodies. When you consciously connect with this principle, it pulls you magically back in, symbolizing the 3 corners of the base of one tetrahedron. The main tools of the bag of the wizard yogi are the bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. There's also a third, he didn't mention that. Ujjayi breathing, victorious breath, building the energy up and keeping it in. Drishti is a point of focus, the gaze. And this is also called the Tristana method, which is 3 places of focus. When we have these 3 places of focus, we're able to like triangulate our where our conscious is, where our awareness is. Okay, let's see. Some people call it Tristana, which literally means 3 breaths. Got to watch this Sanskrit stuff. This could be the correct meaning in that the breaths provide nourishment, but for some reason I don't think that was their intention. It is what it is. So the bandhas. Let's start with the roots. So we begin with the Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha means the root bandha is engaged, and on the physical level, it's the muscular contraction of the perineum, the pelvic floor. This origination point is different for a man and woman. Disclaimer: this will be one thing that is, this will be the one and only thing throughout this book that is not had a direct physical experience with blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. So yeah, each one is different for the man and for the woman. I like to say find those holes down there. If you're a man, find the tip of the yep. If you're a woman, find all 3 of them. Bring them in and then up. For the women, there's also another space like at the top of the cervix, right where the top of where that hits, above that. Lift up and notice how that'll get a little bit more of the front upper front part of the body, and for the guys, the pee hole, the poop hole, yep, in and up from the to the right, tip to tape. Let's get it. All right, let's see. All right, now he starts with Mula Bandha. Because he doesn't go into Jalandhar Bandha. Yeah, he doesn't go into energetics of the Mula Bandha. He's okay. We might get into it today. Okay, I'm gonna just jump on in. The Mula Bandha. I'll start with what I know for sure. For a man, the Mula Bandha is the pelvic floor, the space between the anus and the genitals. Sometimes I've heard it described as squeezing the anus, and that's not completely accurate description. In Hatha Yoga, the exercise which focuses on anus control is called Avashti Mudra. Mula Bandha focal point is the middle point of the perineum, a layering of connective and muscle tissue around the pelvic floor, which has the highest concentration of nerve endings in the human body. That makes a little bit more sense, right? For a woman, the Mula Bandha begins on the pelvic floor, but it also goes deep inside the vagina to the head of the cervix, the womb with the view. And that's why I was saying, like, right where you get at the top of the cervix where the stops, right above that is where you want to lift up, because there is what I've not personally experienced, because I don't have those bits and giblets. However, other practitioners have been mentioning, that additional space. Let's go with that. A woman's genitals are internal, man's are external. A man's feelings are more superficial. Superficial on the surface. It's our nature. Women feel everything deeper in all aspects of life, since this is their inherent nature. There is the possibility for a man to develop his feminine side, but it is not normally available for most men. This goes for women as well, with developing their more masculine energies. How you balance this art of Hatha Yoga. our inherent energies as men and women are being challenged in this day and age more so, more so than ever. Oh my God, yes. This is why we must evaluate how this system of yoga can best serve us in the 21st century. Biologically, we are the same as thousands of years ago, yet we have lost touch with our native ancestry of living in harmony with nature. Facts. Oh my gosh. Psychologically, we are faced with many incongruent life circumstances since life is accelerated in this technological age. The best reference point to begin with is our body's core energy. This being the physical manifestation of the energetic point is called the Mula Bandha, where all those nerve endings meet. Boom, right in the those connective tissues in the perineum. Practicing Mula Bandha keeps you from leaking your energy down and out. The true truth of life is not for those who dissipate their energy and become frail and weak. It is as you have dropped. It is if you have dropped a bucket in a well and pulling it out of the well, you hear the water leaking. By the time you pull the bucket up, all the water is gone. You look and there's holes in the bucket, and we are this leaking vessel dripping into the well of life and coming up again. So that's a pretty word way to explain it, but I'll give you like a visual. So let's use this hydro flask, right? They're not paying me for that. I shouldn't have said it. So I like to look at this as our body. So the Mula Bandha represents the bottom, the base, right? So this is the Mula Bandha. What we're looking at is those holes. If we don't have those holes engaged and pulled in, then it kind of just like all the energy would just leak out the bottom. And that's the bottom of our pelvic floor, that perineum area. Then the Uddiyana Bandha, we didn't necessarily get to yet, but I'm going to jump in there anyway, is like the circumference of our torso, of our container, of our energy container, of our body. And that expands with the rib cage, with the collarbones, the clavicle lifting up, and the ribs expanding, lifting up and forward. It's not necessarily like, oh, I just go outward. There's 3 dimensions. There's action happening in all directions, right? So that's like a lift up. And then the Jalandhara, which I don't think they talk about. However, the Jalandhara Bandha is like kind of bringing the chin in towards the chest, but not down, not like, but like this. You're bringing the chin and the clavicle towards each other and lifting up. That's how you get that lift up forward motion. You could probably even hear it in my voice. It got a little bit deeper. But that and the pull in, as I pull to the side, you see the sternos, right? As I pull in, it stops the blood flow of these massive arteries going to the brain. So in some situations where we have blood flow rushing to the brain, and like maybe you're in inversion, maybe it's in down dog, maybe you feel lightheaded, this will help to lessen the amount of blood that's going to the brain, so there's less intensity of that or vertigo, if that's what you want to call it. And there's just a better way to taper it, and you can get good at not passing out. That's a story for another day. All right, back to the book. Okay, Uddiyana Bandha. Uddiyana Bandha is the next piece of the puzzle, and it often gets overlooked. Is Uddiyana means flying upwards. My experience of this bandha is that it's the extension of the Mula Bandha. To speak about it, we must create the distinctions. But in actuality, there are none. When we contract the Mula Bandha, we engage the pelvic floor. Uddiyana Bandha then lifts the energy higher inside and up. Physically, the lower part of the belly is slightly drawn in and up. This gives you the feeling of lightness yet rooted to the pelvic cavity. This is not to be confused with Uddiyana Kriya, the yogic cleansing practice, which is hollowing out the entire abdomen. Nali Kriya, Yeah, that's another one that'll definitely give you those spins, that lightheadedness. But it's phenomenal for your internal organs. It's literally using your muscles to massage your organs. There is a feeling associated with it. It's lit though, but there is a feeling associated with it. You might be gasping for breath, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's oxygen all around us. They haven't started charging us for that yet. In mass. Okay, let's see. Let's get back to it. This gives you a feeling of lightness, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Apanavayu is the energy that moves things down and out. Urine, feces, menstruation, or birthing of a fetus. So when you lift the energy up by accessing Mula and Uddiyana, the first seals of So when you lift the energy up by accessing Mula or Uddiyana Bandha, this first seals the energy in. By holding Mula Bandha, you are redirecting the flow from going down and out. Apanavayu then merges with Pranavayu, which is in the heart region, which is naturally occurring upward movement. Uddiyana Bandha transfers this energy of Apana into Prana and goes even higher. For your information, there are 3 other vayus that move energy around. One is Samna Vayu, which is responsible for digestion. The next is Udana Vayu, which mostly responsible for the throat, speech, communication. There's the Vyana Vayu, which is the circulation, and and these are different direction and different ways that energy moves in the body. And these are great. Are they in this book? No, I have a little. I'll have some fun printouts that you can order about these energies to make the connections, so we can understand, how they flow, different ways that we can perceive them, and not just our body, but also in our life, because we do move in a lot of cycles, and being able to recognize these cycles is super powerful and impactful for how we move forward. Okay. Holding Mula and Uddiyana creates a centered, grounded experience in the base of your body. It establishes firm foundation in the pelvis, which allows space in the vertebrae to extend out from there, creating length up the lower back. It also protects the back by stabilizing these core muscles in and around the pelvis. This creates a healthy lower back that then moves properly when in asanas or life situations that demand strength and flexibility in that area. Without this established in a practitioner, there's a possibility of injury to the lower back in many of the back bend asanas. More importantly, it supports your everyday activity of living in your body with the freedom to do whatever you want, like you were as a child. That's the importance. I don't care about, it makes my Kapitasana good. It makes my Dharanyarasana good. It makes my, that's great. But how have you been able to translate this off of the mat and into your life? It also creates a vortex. Okay, before we get to that, it was talking about this bandhas concepts help to support the lower back, because a lot of times we just sit around all day and just belly out, just hanging. We're not actually engaging our core muscles. And this concept of Mula Bandha allows us at least the thought process to engage that area. As we do, when I tell you just a little bit of conscious awareness in that area, stomach getting flatter, back getting straighter, cheeks getting fatter. I have seen that, and it's working for me too. Because I was flat as all outdoors. I got a little mosquito bite back there. I was like, let's get it. Hey. So the powerhouse of the body is working well when that's working right. All right, but that also helps us to stabilize the front. When we engage the front of the body, it allows the back, it gives a signal to the backside and says, hey, this can relax, this can let go some, because I'm here to support it. And, the stability, the structure has the integrity to hold it up. So you go and let go, and then you can forward fold better. You don't have to when you're trying to get out. Okay. It also creates a vortex of spiraling energy in this area known in the Chinese system of the Daitan or the Hara. In the term from the Japanese warrior of committing harakiri, which is a ritual suicide when one is attempting to save his or her honor by killing himself. The knife or sword was put in the hara area and plunged into the abdomen. The hara is recognized as a source of power that is unleashed in the martial arts form, namely kung fu, karate, aikido, and this is some of the Bruce Lee concepts that they talk about. This also correlates back to the other, some of the other yoga principles. Joseph Pilates, who created Pilates movement therapy, was a dancer who understood the principle of a good back health from learning yoga. Hello. Obviously, he understood Mula and Uddiyana Bandha as it emphasized in the training he developed called core strength. Although the actual term Mula or Uddiyana Bandha is not mentioned, we would like to point out here that many people who have studied yoga, Ayurveda, and Tantra, like Joseph Pilates, have put their names to a process that is rooted in the principle of one of these ancient systems. Yet there is often no acknowledgement to the original source. I am bringing it to your attention so that you are aware of these many therapies, diets, and etc. are based on these inherent national principles. Yes, like facts. They so many people, they've even rebranded Ashtanga and you know, it's rocket yoga now. They took a lot of the principles and then rebranded it in an American way, and it's not the full practice, but they shifted some things around. It is what it is, but this is just another one of those concepts. Pilates, another one of those concepts. The different types of diets that just come from Ayurveda to solve some of these modern day issues that we have, that we're creating ourselves by the things that we're eating and the things that we're choosing to not do. Because like I was mentioning last week, life is just like our autonomic nervous system. It's just as much involuntary as it is involuntary. So we can skate through it without putting the energy in, but if you choose to, that's where the elevation comes. That's where the growth is. Okay. One of these reasons also that to reveal that these systems are popular because truth never dies. What is true today will go on forever. Plus, this is always good to go to the source of something to understand it. The bandos also generate an intense heat, a fire that is ignited and fueled by awareness, which radiates upwards. For whatever you place your awareness, energy will flow. For wherever you place your awareness, energy will flow there in the form of heat, buzzing, vibration, tingling. This heat creates purification like no other kind of heat. Toxins are released from deep in the tissue. The mind is purified as well by the stillness within. For stillness leads to a purging of all the old samskars or old patterns that's revealed, so you can consciously let them go. And consciously letting them go is the powerful thing. Yes, we can subconsciously let things go, and that can be great. But having the ability to choose to let things go is so impactful, because in those moments where you can be making a huge life-altering decision, you're not swayed one way or another. You're able to stay on task. You're able to stay committed to what you want long-term as opposed to a short-term feeling. Energetically, Uddiyana pulls Kundalini, the latent potential energy, upwards towards the Sahasrara chakra, or the thousand-petaled lotus at the top of the head. The lotus is the spiral symbol used in all the ancient texts to signify the majesty of one of the most spectacular flowers on the planet. Its spiritual significance is that it is growing in a muddy swamp, yet it emerges so magnificently beautiful. From the base of chakra, Muladhara chakra, where the Mula Bandha resides, we move in and up to the highest plane of the human spiritual existence. And that's ascending through the chakras. When fully in bloom, the lotus flower at the top of the head elicits the most heavenly fragrance for all to enjoy. An absolutely poetic image of the rishis envisioned to inspire for us to go within to discover for ourselves. Start with your body. This keeps you grounded and centered in your physical being. Most of the time, the mind pulls you away from your physical experience that that is real now. Focusing on Mula and Uddiyana Bandha is a device to help pull you back into the present and be fully aware of your body, even if only for a glimpse at first. There are momentary gaps of presence that oh my God, there are momentary gaps of presence, and then back to the incessant mind. And that's really how life is. A lot of momentary gaps in presence. It's just like trying to multitask. Have you tried to like multitask and do like 3 things at once, and it seems like you're evenly chugging the bar up at the same time? All these 3 things, but really what you're doing is like push, 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 then go back to the first. Push, push, slow down, push, back to the first. Push. Instead, you're not giving your focus to push that one bar further by itself before you redirect your attention to something else. And this has helped me to see how I am in life a lot of times when I'm trying to divert energy to a whole bunch of things that I don't have the capacity for. Learning what you have the capacity for is integral in how you can move forward. Know your limitations, then you have an accurate assessment of what you can and could not accomplish in a given time or in a given frame. Okay. When you drift off, it says continually coming back to the bandhas is your practice of practice of asana reminds you to be rooted and centered in your being here and now. When you drift off into your thoughts and feelings, remembering the bandhas will immediately bring you back into the moment. As you practice consciously day after day, week after week, year after year, then you begin to live more in presence. I strongly support those thoughts. It puts you way more in touch with the body and on a more, like we mentioned before, from gross to subtle, finding that gross aspect, that gross control, that larger muscle groups, I have to move like this to move my shoulder, to like the little pop and lock movements. Like, nah, I just had to get that up out of there. Oh, you ain't, get up off me. All right. When you step off your mat, you still experience Mula Bandha because you're centered and rooted there. Managing your energy keeps you alive and vibrant. Notice when you're giving your energy, is it to your job, making money, your family? Are you constantly obsessed with thinking about sex? Are you pulled in many different directions, trying to make a name for yourself? There are 1,001 ways, good or bad, to distract us from our primary focus of waking up spiritually. Observe where your bucket is leaking and shift it so you can go higher. Look at those yamas and those niyamas we did in the week before last. You need all the juice you can to climb this mountain within. If you manage your energy, then there will be no need to go out of outside stimulants to keep you going all day. Notice how people are hooked on coffee, tea, cigarettes, chocolate, sugar to keep them functioning throughout the day. Our culture is bankrupt, not financially, but energetically as well. Not only financially, but energetically as well. We are living off borrowed energy, and that's all there is. Taking stimulants when there is no reserve ojas is like whipping a tired horse. We were talking about the ojas, that fluid inside us that is like the 7th material that our body builds after they build, like, blood vessels, muscle, tissue, bones, teeth, hair, skin, bone marrow. We have the ojas, which helps to lubricate and create better neural connections and connection of the electrical impulses that happen within us. We are electrical beings. Electromagnetic. Okay. And light. Those are the 3. I digress, daggone it. Mula Bandha is a reference point to orient yourself. If you look at Mula Bandha on a purely physical level, it's not possible to keep it contracted for long periods of time. Try holding your bicep muscle, or any muscle for that matter, for longer than a couple of minutes. From a heavy functioning muscle that standpoint, you contract it when you need it, and it falls back to a state of rest. Otherwise, it'll fatigue. So activating it physically when you need it for demanding poses or things in life, and then relaxing it to keeping it energetic, but keeping an energetic feeling always centered around there. It takes awareness at first, and then it becomes second nature. It's such a relief to know that you don't have to keep holding it physically all the time. I can't tell you how many people have thanked me for sharing that with them. So relax your anus, since it's impossible to keep it tight all the time physically. And that is facts too. I just use it as a moment of when I don't realize that I don't have that engagement, I'm not grounded and centered, then it's like, oh, reminder to bring it back. And I start realizing it's kind of like meditation. Meditating for 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 15 minutes and then realizing the difference in the connection that I have to time and how I relate to time. And it's the same thing that happens here. I'll realize, oh, you let it go. What distracted you? What caused you to lose focus? Two, how long was that? Because I have like an idea of like a feeling of, oh, it's been like 3 minutes. This is what 3 minutes feels like. And so much more just expands from that. Okay. There's also the likelihood of it being overstimulated to the point of chronic contraction, thus energizing the area, but not moving the energy in and up. There is a subtle distinction I am referring to here. The physical is there, but if you get stuck on in the physical, it can disrupt the flow as well as becoming congested. There is a likelihood of becoming a tight ass or an asshole. Isn't funny, but it's the best jokes are the ones that have a bit of truth in them, right? Facts. Ooh, we're gonna get into drishti. Okay. So we'll stop at Ujjayi breathing. So we have some energetics in Mula Bandha. So we talked about the awareness in that area. We talked about different types of energy, those different values. And now we're going to go into energetics of the bandhas. We're on page 178 on The Only Way Out Is In. My name is Jarek, the Floating Yogi. And, sign up on the website to join the discussion. Okay. I point out once more that there's not just the physical that we are concerned with here. Otherwise, we would be circus performers. Being able to pick yourself up and jump back or press into handstand is impressive, but fall short in ways that we are moving towards with yoga. We are enamored by all these feats of strength and flexibility, thinking that is the goal. If you cannot accomplish them in Ashtanga, when you become frustrated and feel as if you are doing something wrong, you may never be able to jump back. So what? The practice isn't about is about tapping into something beyond yourself. Ecstasy again means to stand outside oneself. The feeling of being in the zone, as some athletes call it, is the feeling of elation. There's an energy that is moving through you. Grace is there, available at all times, yet we block it by going back into our heads. There's the element of Ashtanga being very gross and physical, and maybe those of us that are attracted to it are usually athletically inclined. But there is an undercurrent that is there. If we open up to receive the grace, get out of the way, then you can flow through your practice or life. For after all, the practice is just a mirror. It is a mirror. What was it last week? Like, what I see you do on your mat is a reflection of what you do in your life. Facts on facts, yo. I see it every single day. Great reason why I practice. Then I can see, those things that I can improve on. Where I am. Where am I stable? Where am I not? Where am I letting things go? Or procrastinating? Guruji says Mula Bandha 24 hours a day. How is that possible? It's not physically, but energetically for sure. My interpretation of this Zen Kona-like expression is when you are awake even when you're sleeping. The witnessing presence that lives within each of us is always available. It is a way of speaking about waking up inside and staying awake. We are constantly falling back asleep when our minds are occupied, when our minds occupy our awareness. Living fully awake and alive is our birthright. It is who we are, and all the rest is made up in our heads from lifetimes of nonsense and lies. The process of Mula Bandha is to continually hammer away. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. When you become awake, you don't need your alarm clock going off constantly. The better method to awaken than to be What better method to awaken than to be fully there and alive in the core of your body, in the center of power and energy in your whole being? All these methods that I'm speaking of are devices and tools to wake up. So when I talk about holding Mula Bandha, I'm speaking about in a metaphorical way. I constantly chant out Mula Bandha in class to remind everyone to come back from wherever land. That's a powerful tool. I see the whole room enlivened with awareness for the moment, and some slip back into that being unconscious. There's a few people who give me this look like, how did he know? Well, 9 times out of 10, people forget it. Every once in a while, someone will pass wind, and it'll lead me to a comic relief of saying, Mula Bandha, no anal exhaling. Ha ha ha. But that's real. That's a real thing. And I think that might be one of the reasons people like my class, because of the breath work keeps you conscious through. Am I on count with the breath? Am I on count with the movement? Am I behind? If so, okay, maybe how can I adjust? How can I make changes? Maybe it's not keeping up with the pace, but adjusting, taking some moves out so you can still get in flow. Maybe it's saying, forget the flow, I need these movements, and I'm just going to be behind. It's options, but it's tailoring the practice to yourself. All right. When this area gets highly magnetized by constant stimulation, it wakes up an energy that is lying asleep. I feel it as an electrical current moving, a tingling vibration up my spine, which spreads throughout my whole body and beyond, similar to an orgasm. That will get you up in the morning for practice. This is the magical energy called Kundalini. It is latent potential energy awaiting to be tapped into. Our sexual energy is rooted there, as well as is synonymous with Kundalini. This is our most primal energy source. Yoga and Tantra recognize this power and know how to harness this for higher purposes. Most people only get a glimpse of this power through sex and ejaculation. The magnitude of this force is unimaginable. It is an atomic power compared to a matchstick flame. When I observe a beginner who is doing yoga for the first time, I may notice that they are right there experiencing themselves with total presence, but have their knees bent and can't touch their toes. Next to a beginner who is so-called advanced yoga practitioner who can do all these intricate postures. They took a picture that looked picture perfect. However, I can see in there that their mind is drifting constantly and wandering and spacing out, going through the motions mechanically. Their approach to the practice becomes like a job and not a joy. And because they are lacking in presence, they are merely going through the motions like a good yogi. And yeah, that's real. That disconnect, that just going through the motions is such a state to be in. And having that constant practice helps you to sit and see yourself and know what it feels like to when you're doing that. So then you can pull yourself out, not just in the practice, but when you start wandering off in life, in a meeting, at work, while you're driving, you can pull yourself back faster. Who is more advanced of the two? It doesn't take time to come to presence. A beginner can be more advanced in true sense of what the practice of yoga is all about, if they are able to tap into the presence within. This is not common occurrence, and therefore the disciplined, regular practice and art form like yoga is necessary to bring one to that place. There is, however, the danger of advanced practitioners being so convinced of what they know, they close themselves off to new valuable information or insights. There's an expression in Zen, a beginner's mind to be like a child, to open up, innocent, to explore. This is why I appreciate someone coming to me new as opposed to a 10, 15, or 20-year practitioner with many bad habits to break. Yo, that's real. Because the habits be on fire, yo, and repatterning can be so much harder than just learning. Because once you learn, it's like, oh no, do it this way. Oh, with the right, yep. Oh, that's so much easier, as opposed to, oh, I'm just so used to doing it this way. Now I have to break the pattern. Oh my gosh, that just takes so much longer. But it's doable. Stick with it. There is a rare, humble, long-time student who surrenders to what is now. This, again, is true and a sign of a disciplined or an advanced student to be open to discover something new. After all, there are layers upon layers of levels to delve into. Over time, your awareness through intention is more energetically stimulated than purely a physical effort. It is also a reference to speak about something which supports your life on many levels. Whatever you're into, doing Mula Bandha can be accessed. That's why I refer to it as a metaphor, because it's subtle. It's not so much physical, but its effects on your life is profound. The bandhas are phenomenal in all aspects of life. It helps with everything you partake in, whether it is playing a traditional sport, dancing, hiking, surfing, or enjoying sex. Facts. Whether it is you will be better whatever it is, you will be better at it because you're rooted in your core and are fully there experiencing whatever it is you need in the moment. All martial arts teach you to be rooted in the core of your body. How do you think master martial arts break bricks with or boards? It's virtually impossible to do with your arm without breaking your hand or fist. Then you hit a solid object and snap it into two, and they tap into that energy coming in from that power center. This energy, when harnessed with intention, can kill. In yoga, we're not using that energy for destructive purposes or defending ourselves, rather using this to enliven our bodies. And that's like the energy that we feel through the veins, like the awakeness you feel after a practice, after the levity, after you're getting up from like rest and everything. Like, oh my gosh, I could dance like a motherfucker. The martial arts have techniques in which you learn to defend yourself, but also learn how to access that power within. The martial arts, oh, I already read that. Okay. Did I? Nope, I didn't. The martial arts have techniques in which you can learn to defend yourself, but also how to access that power within. Most martial arts have never have used this energy to defend themselves. However, the source can be generated comes from the grounding that exists within the practice. A true martial arts master is a peaceful warrior who is soft, relaxed, and gentle, but pulsing with confidence and strength. A very valuable lesson which Ashtanga Yoga helps teach, which we'll be practicing tomorrow. Teaches. Watch a cat jump and you'll see a relaxed animal spring into action. They are not tight and tense in their bodies. They have no mind to get in the way, which is our greatest inhibitor most of the time. There are many powers inside we are not accessing. It's best to start from the root and go up. Thus, we begin with the Mula, the Uddiyana. In the practice of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, we are constantly challenged to move from one energetic place as opposed to a physical or muscling our way through the practice. Tapping into these energies can help us to float gracefully through what appears to be quite difficult postures or circumstances. You can use this in all aspects of your life. Herein lies the test if you are gaining anything from your practice. Do you move with equanimity on and off the mat? Ooh. I support those thoughts. Rounding up. Yeah, next week we're gonna jump into the Ujjayi breathing, the victorious breath. We're gonna go into talk about some injuries and stuff, the old days of, we might get into that, we might not. Now, we're definitely gonna go into the gross to subtle. That's gonna be a thing. The Jiva Bandha. Everything moves in a vortex. We're going to finish up these principles in this pyramid code and then the summary of it. Yeah, that's going to be next time. And then we'll talk about the Mysore format, which is the style in which Ashtanga is taught. And I think it is a phenomenal way to teach. I like to learn that way. This is where the quote comes from that I have: unlock the inner guru in you. Because it's not teaching you. The teacher isn't like sitting there teaching you. The teacher's just guiding you. It's giving you a mirror to look back at, to reflect at. And from there, judging on things that you see, you get to tailor it towards yourself to get you closer to the goal. It inspires you to think in a different way, and it's just powerful and impactful. I love it, and I don't have to sit there and I don't want people telling me how to live my life. I want to learn how to do it myself, and then, as people, the ones around me, grow, that's the validation. As they're enjoying the ride, that's the validation. that I'm in the right track. Anyway, Monday night, it was great vibing with you, great reading with you, the comments and the fun stuff. Any questions, comments, want to work on something, interested in some more virtual workshops and lectures that do spring off of these topics, let me know. You can send me an email at the info@thefloatingyogi.com. Check out the website for the schedule and a whole bunch of other things. The Halloween yoga getaway was lit. We have some amazing footage. Thanks to Blue Third Eyes. Appreciate the photos. Also, we have some audio coming in. What? Some more soundtracks. An album? Yes, most certainly. And it's featuring Greg Beecham, A Touch of Soul. It's going to be some magic happening. Thanks to Real Audio Solutions. No commercials. International. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Yogi, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education. Redefining how we see health and wellness in the community. Bringing the power of healing and growth back into our own hands. With that being said, I'd love to see you tomorrow to flow and grow with you. We are here in UE Center, also virtual. So bring that ass. It'd be great to see you. Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods.